What a bittersweet weekend of football we all just experienced as New York Giants fans. I'm Bryce Gelman, and today I'm going to be talking about the scathing and condemning report from Pat Leonard from the New York Daily News on Brian Daboll. A disastrous report that changes my viewpoint and a lot of other Giants fans' viewpoints on the team, and also going to be discussing, yes, two of the greatest collapses that I have ever witnessed as a football fan from the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is where we are going to start today, because I could not have imagined a more beautiful scenario playing out like we saw this past weekend. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that? The Cowboys were the only team to lose in the wild card at home. They had won 16 straight games at home. They were the only team out of the 6 home teams in the wild card to lose. Incredible. Dak Prescott, the entire Cowboys offense, forgot how to play football in the first half. They go down big to a first-year starting quarterback in Jordan Love, who has blossomed into what I predicted him to be. A lot of other people predicted him to be, which was a great successor to Aaron Rodgers. He's making throws exactly like Aaron Rodgers. He looks exactly the same. Good for the Packers and terrible for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and Cowboys fans, who honestly, I got to say, I feel bad for at this point. Like, this is the worst situation. I think I would, as a Yankees fan, like I could say that, because I think Cowboys fans feel exactly like Yankees fans. Like, it's been so long since there was success. There is so much negativity from the fan base. Everyone hates us. I get it. I completely get it. Do I wish them success going forward? Absolutely not. I hope this continues forever. But I'm just saying, I do feel bad, Cowboys fans. And then last night, what we witnessed with the Philadelphia Eagles, the incompetency that we have witnessed over the last 6 weeks. The Eagles were 10-1. One of the top 2 or 3 favorites to win the Super Bowl. To go from that to one of the worst losses that I've witnessed from, just a pure football talent standpoint in the playoffs was disastrous. And not for me. I'm just saying in general for the Eagles and for Harry Roseman, for the Eagles fans, and for Nick Sirianni, who, in my opinion, needs to be fired yesterday. It should have been fired yesterday. This guy is the most immature piece of garbage head coach in the National Football League right now. And I'm saying that in the present tense. Tomorrow or in the future, it's going to be in the past tense, because he is going to get fired. I would have done it last night, but that's just me. Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, I'm sure will part ways. And there is just like, it's truly incredible what we witnessed. Like, another Cowboys collapse. Like, this team, for whatever reason, falls apart every single year in the playoffs. I don't even think it's a Mike McCarthy problem. I think it's an organizational issue. I think it comes from the top down. It trickles down from Jerry Jones, the culture he's built, not even advancing to an NFC Championship game in almost 30 years now. It's pathetic. It really is. And there needs to be major changes there. And I don't think that those changes will be made to the liking of what the Cowboys fans want. Because I think what they really want, and I think maybe most of them refuse to admit it, is Jerry Jones selling the team. Because I don't see how this team could win. How many different head coaches, how many different quarterbacks are you going to try? How many talented rosters are going to be wasted in the playoffs because one or two of the guys on your team, who are the most important guys on the team, your head coach, whatever, completely fail to perform in a big spot? It's a terrible situation. But it's an awesome situation if you're a Giants fan. And a terrible situation has been unfolding these past few days after the Pat Leonard report, I believe, was released yesterday or the day before on Brian Daboll, which, after every single thing this year, could you really say it was surprising? I think you still can, because many fans, I think, expected the details behind the dissent between the coaching staff to be released, and it would be, I don't know, extremely unfavorable for Brian Daboll, but I don't think any of us expected it to be this bad. I mean, I'm gonna pull up some of the quotes that I took away from this article. I mean, if you haven't read it, read it, because it is terrible. I mean, if you haven't read it, I'm just gonna restate some of the things again, like they said. A Giants staffer basically said to other potential staffers trying to interview for jobs, the Giants do not come here, is what he said. And one other thing that this article underline is the unpredictability behind the attitude of Brian Daboll. And I think that this is now going to be brought to the forefront. And obviously, any time that the next time that Brian Daboll faces the media, he's going to be asked a slew of questions regarding what exactly happened. I mean, the report in this is that that Joe Shane had to listen to the headset because of the infighting going on between Daboll and Wink Martindale, and that Brian Daboll constantly blamed the defense for the problems of the team, that there were fights that happened in practice, like yada yada. This is terrible. It's bad news. It really is, because I think in my perspective and from my standpoint, it looked like Brian Daboll was the coach of the future for the Giants. That this wasn't going to be a one and done after last year. They make the playoffs. Everyone kind of sat back and thought, wow, this Giants team is actually in a good spot for once. And then this report comes out after, a down season, a season in which they did show spurts of competency, in which they showed that they could compete. It's just they got unlucky with injuries and they lost some games that they should have won. But now it appears there might be a culture problem. There might be a head coaching problem. And it also appears that Kafka may have been the driving force behind the Giants' great offense. Because that 3-game stretch of games they won with Tommy DeVito as quarterback, Kafka took back the play calling responsibilities. And that was obviously reported that maybe Daboll took it over, and the Giants ended up going 1-3 in those games, because this is another thing that's underlined, that he did take over the play calling responsibilities, and those are the games they went 1-3. So let's take a step back here. Let's analyze all of this and how this could look going forward. First off, this could easily deter most of, if not every single possible defensive coordinator, potential defensive coordinator, from coming to the Giants. That's one. Number two, maybe this is just conjecture created at the behest of Wink Martindale, that he's trying to make himself look like the victim here, that he's trying to make himself look as good as possible in the eyes of the public following this awful breakup between him, Daboll, and Giants brass. This could easily be fiction. And I don't think it is, because I think it just kind of goes along with a lot of the discourse with with the Giants coaching staff this past year, that it kind of lines up. And as much as I want to say, Wink is making this up, I don't think all of it is made up, because the article states multiple sources at multiple different points. So that is definitely a possibility here, that Wink and his guys that were fired all came together, reached out to Pat Leonard, and said, hey, this is what happened. Take it or leave it. But this is exactly what happened, and it's not a good look. It really isn't either way. Even if it's partially false, partially true, I think that it underlines a behavioral problem from Brian Daboll. And there's at one point in the article, Pat Leonard mentions Brian Daboll's reaction to what happened at the end of the first half with Tyrod Taylor checking into a run, running out the clock. The Giants don't even get a field goal. And at halftime, in an interview, basically said, I'm too emotional to even speak on what happened. I can't even think straight. That's not a good look. Because as an NFL head coach, you need to be objective. You can't let emotion get in the way of making decisions. And it looks like Daboll might not be able to get to that point in his own head. Maybe just like Nick Sirianni, he's not mature enough to be an NFL head coach. And Brian Daboll, from what he's done in the past, of coaching for two guys, and respect to both of them, because since my last episode, they both retired, and Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, both retiring, that this is something that should have been corrected before. If they really thought that Brian Daboll was ready to take the mantle of head coach, then don't you think that he would have gotten the correct teaching from these guys? I don't know. So yeah, this stinks. And it just makes all of this and losing Wink hurt that much more. And maybe that's the intent behind this article, behind the inside sources, is to make Giants fans feel like they lost out on the one guy responsible for the success of the Giants. But another reality is that the Giants defense, yes, it may have been the best part of the team, but they ranked in the bottom 15, the bottom 20 in a lot of defensive metrics. The one thing they did better than any team in the NFL was get takeaways. And that is the reason why the Giants finished with 6 wins. Because you don't get 6 turnovers. You don't force 6 turnovers in the Washington game, the second Washington game. The Giants have 5 wins. And they have a better draft position. They're tied, or whatever it is, with the Commanders who sit at 3, or wherever they are. This is not good news. And I could sit here and continue to reiterate these same points, but it just isn't, no matter how you want to look at it. And I know there are going to be a lot of people out there who are going to have a knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, fire Daboll. Daboll's got to go. Maybe let him learn from his mistakes. I don't know. If this continues to happen, then you might see Joe Schoen start to distance himself from his guy and Daboll. They both came over from Buffalo. They were both attached to the hip. They are running this team together. And Joe Schoen might try to save face here. If I were him, I might do the same, even though it's my buddy. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Like the Giants firing Bobby Johnson, who came over with Brian Daboll, who's the offensive line coach, who did awful. Objectively awful. There wasn't there was even a regression in Evan Neal there. Like Izudu didn't pan out to be what he was supposed to be as a third rep. There, JMS, the issues went on and on. And that's the reason why he was fired. So I don't know. I think Joe Schoen might have to take a look at himself in the mirror and look at his relationship with Daboll in the mirror and say and think, and like, maybe this just isn't going to work out. If I want to stay here, if I want to continue being the GM of the New York Giants, if I want to, continue doing great work here and making the right decisions besides Evan Neal, then I probably should distance myself. So this all remains to be seen. And hopefully more reports will come out that either confirm or deny this. As of right now, it's just from Pat Leonard. Maybe other reporters have, again, confirmed or denied it. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I just read what the original report was. And I'm hoping for the best. And I'm hoping that this is complete fiction, but in reality, it's probably not. So that'll do it for this little quick episode. If you liked it, please give me a like and a subscription here on YouTube below. I did want to touch on the Quentin Grimes situation. The Knicks are potentially shopping him. I think that while it may be the only chance that the Knicks have of being able to improve their playmaking, their facilitating, and their scoring on the bench, maybe take a little time to see what you have. I think the trade deadline's in a month, but I heard they're shopping him. Wanted to touch on that. Other news came out about James Dolan, a scathing report that I'm sure he'll probably get out of. I'll get to that later in the week along with the Grimes information, but I did want to touch on that quickly. But yeah, all right, that'll do it for this episode. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later this week, probably on Friday.